Welcome back. In today's video, going through my final prediction of how many Justice Democrats I think are going to be able to make it into the U.S. House of Representatives. So there's 24 races in total. Going to be going through every single one of them and showing you the current odds on this 538 map of the United States. Obviously, this isn't an exact replication of what the United States looks like. It's a cartogram, and it gives you a better idea of where the population centers are throughout the country. So I'm going to go through each one of these districts and be handing them out based on whether I think the Justice Democratic candidate is going to be able to win or come up short. And then after we get all of the results of this upcoming election, going to come back and compare either how accurate or inaccurate I was with these predictions. So starting off here, just going to be going through the states in alphabetical order. So Arizona's 3rd Congressional District, Raul Grijalva, an incumbent, overwhelming favorite here, nearly 100% chance to win, expected to get about 70% of the vote. So definitely having the Justice Democrats continue to hold on to that seat in Arizona's 3rd Congressional District. Now moving on out to the state of California, where they have 3 candidates, starting off in California's 1st with Audrey Denney. She's likely to keep this race within single digits, and I'd actually be surprised if it wasn't within about 5 percentage points. And if the Democrats are winning seats like this, then it's going to be a very strong night for them overall across the spectrum in terms of picking up a lot of seats. But going to be an uphill battle here for Denney. She's an enthusiastic campaigner and somebody who has a shot here. California's 1st Congressional District is definitely Republican leaning, and going against an incumbent isn't going to be an easy task for Denney. I think she keeps this one really close, but at the end of the day, I have Denney coming up just short in this one. It'd be great if she was able to go on and win this one, but at least at this point, I think she's going to come up just short. We'll see how it plays out there in California's 1st. Moving on to California's 17th Congressional District, Khanna, incumbent, likely to get about 80% of the vote or so. Definitely having the Justice Democrats winning that particular race. So we're up to 2 for the Justice Democrats. And then this is one of my upset picks here, California's 50th Congressional District. The amount of controversy surrounding Duncan Hunter, I think, is obviously opening up the door quite a bit for Ammar Campa-Najjar. We've seen a lot of polling recently that has this race very close, and the kind of campaigning that Hunter is doing is pretty disgraceful. I think it'll work amongst his Republican constituents in California's 50th district, but I think it's likely to turn off a lot of independent voters, and the independent vote is what Campa-Najjar needs to pick this upset. I think he's going to be able to do it, just given obviously the controversy surrounding Hunter with him taking campaign funds and spending it on personal items. That's just one thing that's working against Hunter, but also the very negative, slanderous campaign he's running against Campa-Najjar, I think is going to turn off a lot of independents as well. In what was likely to be a relatively competitive race, even without all of these controversies surrounding Hunter, I think it's enough to open up the door here for Campa-Najjar to go on and pick up this upset win here in California's 50th. So we'll see how that plays out, but I think Campa-Najjar can pick that one up. All right, moving on over to Colorado and the 5th Congressional District here with Stephany Rose Spalding. And this is another one of those where it's currently listed as solid Republican. They have the incumbency advantage, but I think Rose Spalding is going to be able to keep this one somewhat competitive, maybe getting it to within about 10 percentage points or so. There's a lot of Democratic effort trying to get behind her and elevate her chances here in the state of Colorado. But again, Rose Spalding likely to come up short in this one. However, I do think it is going to be a little bit more competitive than what 538 currently has it listed. And then moving on over to Florida's 8th Congressional District, Sanjay Patel. Another one of those long shots here, even more so than Colorado's 5th Congressional District. This is Florida's 8th. He's going against Bill Posey, the incumbent. Sanjay Patel likely to come up short in this one, and I don't see him pulling off this upset. Moving on to Georgia's 1st Congressional District. And we have Lisa Ring going against Buddy Carter. Lisa Ring, a very big long shot here, even more so than these last 2 districts that we looked at. And this is going to be kind of a reoccurring theme with a lot of these Justice Democrat races where they were able to win the primary on the Democrat side because by and large, they didn't have a lot of Democratic effort, particularly from the DCCC, to go in and try to win these districts because they're heavily in Republican hands. So Ring again, likely to come up well short in this one. We'll see how that plays out, but I don't see her picking up that upset. All right, now moving on over to Kansas's 4th congressional district. And James Thompson, in terms of this 538 projection, has been slipping back quite a bit. Now they only have him around a 3% chance. He was all the way up to about a 20% point chance just a month or so ago, so definitely has slipped away from him. He was able to keep this special election between himself and Estes extremely competitive. I think it was about a 6-point margin. And Kansas's 4th congressional district is very Republican. If Thompson can even keep this one within about 10 percentage points, given the fact that it's a different scenario than a special election where you don't have the same kind of turnout that you have in a general election in November, I think that's still probably a positive sign for the progressive movement, particularly in what's a very Republican area like Kansas's 4th. We'll see how that plays out. Definitely one I'm going to be keeping an eye on, given how much change that there's been in the statistical analysis of this particular race. But I do think that Thompson likely comes up short here, but definitely one that we're going to be looking at on Election Day. Now moving on over to Massachusetts, 7th Congressional District, Ayanna Pressley, very progressive candidate here, uncontested, 100% chance of winning that one. So obviously that's going to be another one that the Justice Democrats are able to pick up there in Massachusetts. Moving over to the state of Michigan, this is another upset pick that I have here. Matt Morgan, the uncorrupted veteran here. He doesn't take corporate PAC money. I think that plays very well in rural Michigan. This is the northern part of the state. Actually, this is a district that was in Democrats' hands for a number of decades until more recent years, where Jack Bergman's been able to take it here, the incumbent. And what's really amazing about Matt Morgan is he was kept off the primary ballot because of a situation where he used a P.O. box address instead of his actual home address. So the Republicans used that as a loophole to keep his name off the primary ballot. But to get on this ballot, he had to get, I think it was about 5% of the total vote cast in Michigan's 1st congressional district. He absolutely blew past that. He got over 30,000 write-in votes, which is absolutely absurd. When you take that into context, another very well-known name within the Justice Democrat movement is Ocasio-Cortez. She picked up 15,000 votes, or right around that number, to upset Joe Crowley. This is double that number of votes, and with a write-in, Matt Morgan not even being in on the ballot, to kind of give you an idea of just how impressive that was for him to be able to do that. So Matt Morgan, in this particular district, you have a guy like Michael Moore, a very influential figure for the Democrats that can really have a big sway, and he's going to be out there helping Morgan as well. I think this is a district, especially in a strong year of Democratic voter turnout, that can swing back to the Democratic Party. Like I said, this was a district that was in Democrats' hands for a number of decades until more recently, where it's flipped over to the Republicans. I think that Matt Morgan, the uncorrupted veteran here, is the perfect kind of candidate to run and win, and I think he's going to be able to pull off this upset in what should be an extremely close race. Moving on to Michigan's 2nd congressional district, and this is the district that I currently live in. I have a little bit of a bias here, but still at the end of the day, I do think that incumbent Bill Huizenga is going to keep this one. I actually have a Rob Davidson sign out in my front yard. I don't typically put political signs out in my front yard unless I really support a candidate, and Rob Davidson, he's an emergency room physician. He has the perfect view that we need in Congress for somebody to help fix our current healthcare system. It would be great to have his type of expertise in the negotiating rooms there. But Davidson likely to come up short, but just a little quick anecdotal thing, just because this is the district that I live in. Whenever I'm driving through my district, for instance, when I go visit my folks or something, I go through a part of a district which is typically pretty Republican, and it's actually blown me away, the support that I've seen for Davidson. There's about a 10-minute drive stretch where it's, I would say, upper middle class area, maybe even lower, higher class area of this particular district. 0 Huizenga signs, and I counted 15 Rob Davidson signs. So there's definitely something in the works here in this district where Davidson is likely to be closer to Huizenga than any Democrat has been able to get to a Republican opponent in this district, at least in my lifetime. We'll see if it's enough for Davidson to pull off this upset. It's unlikely, just given how deeply red this particular district is, but at the end of the day, Davidson, if he even gets it to within single digits, that would be a pretty impressive milestone for the Democratic Party in this district. We'll see how that plays out, but I do think Huizenga is able to keep his seat at the end of the day. All right, so now moving on over to Michigan's 13th congressional district. Rashida Tlaib, she's going to go on and win this one over a 99.9% chance. Not being challenged by the Republicans, an extremely Democratic district there in the east portion of the state over by Detroit. So we are going to go ahead and add another seat here for the Justice Democrats. So they're now up to 6. And moving on out to the state of Minnesota's, the 5th congressional district, actually somewhat similar to Michigan's 13th. It's extremely Democratic. And another Muslim woman here with Ilhan Omar. She's going to go on and take this one. So that's going to put the Justice Democrats up to 7. And now going on down to the state of Missouri, the 7th congressional district. This is a district that I lived in for a number of years when I was going through college. Jamie Schoolcraft, he has a huge uphill battle. Simply, he doesn't have the funding, or just the fact that this particular district is so conservative that even if he did have extremely strong funding, he would likely come up short against the incumbent Billy Long. So not going to be able to give the Justice Democrats that particular district. Moving over to Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, and Carrie Eastman, right now pegged as a 2 in 5 chance. I've actually seen this one where she's been slightly favored, slightly to the disadvantage. Going to be extremely close in terms of Nebraska. With strong Democratic turnout, you would expect this kind of district to be in the Democrats' hands. I think they can do that, even running against an incumbent here. I think that Eastman, given the fact that it's going to be a very strong year for Democratic voter turnout, and getting that woman vote, which has been so important for the Democrats throughout primary season, that probably carries over here, and was probably a big benefactor for her going on and taking this particular primary victory down against the establishment Democratic opponent that she went against. I think she's going to go on and pick this one up, taking it down from the incumbent. So that's another one that we're going to add to the counter here, going up to 8 Justice Democrats. And going on down to New York's 14th congressional district over here in the eastern portion of the United States. Ocasio-Cortez, she's going to run away with this one. She took down Joe Crowley in what's one of the bigger upsets that we've seen in primary history. Ocasio-Cortez is definitely going to be taking that one, so up to 9. And just a little bit more than a handful of races left to go here. Pennsylvania's 11th congressional district with Jess King. Lloyd Smucker, he's a guy where he's kind of shifted a bit more to the right in his time representing this district. King, she's been running a very effective campaign. I think she's going to keep this one very close, likely within single digits. Actually, wouldn't be a complete surprise if she was able to pick up this upset over Smucker, especially the fact that she doesn't take that corporate PAC money. I think that plays really well in a district like this. We'll see how it plays out. I think King comes up just short in this one, but it's going to be very competitive and one that I'm definitely keeping an eye on election day to see if she's able to pick up that upset. And then moving down to the state of Texas, where we have 4 races. All of them are very long shots for the Justice Democrats. So Texas, the 3rd congressional district, Lori Birch, likely to come up well short here. Right now, she's down by about 20 percentage points in Texas's 3rd. Texas is, let's see here. We also have the 12th, 14th, and 26th. Here's the 26th. Lindsey Fagan, right now listed at about a 30-point deficit there. Another one here down in Texas, 14th. Adrian Bell, probably going to keep things closer than some of these other races in Texas with the Justice Democrats, but still likely to come up well short here. She's down by about 19 percentage points in this forecasted model. And then also Texas's 12th congressional district. Let's see if I can find that here in this massive state. There we go. Okay, so Adia, also a big disadvantage here, over a 30% gap there between her and the incumbent, likely to come up short there as well. So Texas, there's 4 Justice Democrats running, all of them big-time long shots. I don't see them likely to pick up any of those respective races. So now moving on over to Washington, where we have a couple of races, and then going to finish things off with Wisconsin. So Pramila Jayapal, the incumbent, she's going to run away with this one clearly in Washington's 7th congressional district, so that puts us up to 10 Justice Democrats. And then an extremely interesting race here in Washington's 9, where we have 2 Democrats going against each other. Adam Smith, a little bit more center-left type Democrat, and then obviously Sarah Smith, much more to the left. I'd be surprised. This is another one of those where I think 538 is undervaluing the Justice Democrat slightly. If she's able to get things within about 15 percentage points, that'd probably be pretty impressive for her. We'll see how that plays out, but likely to come up short at the end of the day. You have two Democrats running against each other, so you know at the end of it here, it's going to be in Democrats' hands. It's just if it's more of a center-left candidate or a further to the left candidate and the Justice Democrat, Sarah Smith. And then Wisconsin's first congressional district, maybe one of the more interesting races out of all 435 House district races, because this is Paul Ryan's seat here. He's not running for re-election, which opens up the door even more so, I feel, for Randy Bryce. Bryce, he's gotten a lot of following. He's got a massive Twitter following, and a lot of that is just this union sentiment behind his candidacy. There's a lot of union people and working class people who are very supportive of his type of policies, more focused on the working class in comparison to corporate interests. And definitely a race that you want to keep an eye on election day, given the fact that it's a slightly lean Republican district, but there's also a lot of working class people in this district. And if Democrats are able to win a district like this, then it's a very positive bellwether sign for them, where they're likely to have a lot of success across the map here and picking up a lot of seats. I actually think that Randy Bryce is going to be able to pick up this one. This is another slight upset prediction that I have for the Justice Democrats. He would have probably been able to keep things really close against Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan would have had a bit more of an advantage given that incumbency label and the fact that he's the leader of the House for the Republicans. But still, I think that Randy Bryce is going to be able to pick up this upset at the end of the day in what should be a very competitive election. Just like in this district, in the primary results, it was basically about the same number of votes on both the Republican and Democrat sides. That's generally a positive sign for the Democrats going into the general election. So my final prediction for the Justice Democrats is they're going to be able to pick up 11 seats. Well, some of these are incumbency, so they're not pickups. But at the end of the day, I think that they're going to get right around 11 seats, plus or minus maybe about 2 or 3. So we'll see how that plays out. And after we get all of that voting data back and get the final tallies on these races, going to come back and compare to see how accurate or inaccurate I was on these predictions. So that's going to wrap up this video, guys. Thanks for stopping on in. Subscribe for more, and I hope to see you back here after Election Day to go over the recap video. See you then. Bye.